Most artists know that success often takes time. There are plenty of one-hit wonders in every walk of life. But a sustained career of public acceptance takes decades to build and many obstacles to overcome. A case in point now from Billy Taylor, with a profile of a jazz singer who has survived the tests of time and turmoil.
There's a saying says that love is blind. Still we're often told, seek and ye shall find.
Andy Bey has a voice like no other.
You are the breathless hush of evening that trembles on the brink of a lovely song.
He's got a 4-octave range that goes from deep, velvety bass to high, dreamy falsetto.
I say I was wrong. Dark shadows haunting me.
He can deliver the intimacy of a love song, then effortlessly belt out the raw power of the blues.
Nothing's impossible, I have found, for when my chin is on the ground, pick some up, dust some of it, start all over again. Don't lose your governance if you slip, dig great for a pleasant trip. Pick some up, dust some of it, start all over again.
Solo male jazz vocalists are regaining popularity these days. And at the head of a short list of successful singers is Andy Bey. But at age 59, he's no overnight sensation. In fact, he started as a child prodigy.
My mother used to tell me that I had gotten on the piano stool when I was like 2 or 3, and I would fall off it sometimes. I used to wear a little money bracelet. You know. My father would take me to different places, you know, relatives, and I would sing or play.
Soon, he was performing at places like the Apollo Theater in Harlem. And then, as a teenager, he formed a trio with 2 of his sisters, Geraldine and Salome.
It's like 38 years old now. Yeah. We were like kids. I was like 20.
The group was simply called Andy and the Bey Sisters. In the 1950s, they were well received at home in the States, but they were really hot in Paris and Frankfurt. When they returned home, the trio eventually split up. And as each sister continued her own successful jazz career, Andy Bey concentrated on his voice, making his astounding vocal range sound effortless and natural.
Smoking away, being out of his day, ahead of his time, not in the same round with other guys. He wasn't commonly wise. He knew the answer, the time to dance it. He knew you can't pick up the moment and take it with you on the roots. And now was the time.
I never liked technique to sound like technique for the sake of, I mean, it's cool when you can do it, but it should sound natural. It should be natural.
Life threw him a brutal curve in 1994 when he discovered he was HIV positive. His many years of yoga helped him cope with the condition.
I know it's a blessing in disguise because I've been able to accept the responsibility of my own actions. I mean, sure, you can easily point the finger and say that this was that and that was this, but it all boils down to you. I don't want to identify with being HIV positive or being gay or being this or being anything else, but that is a fact in my life that I have to deal with, and you run into all kind of issues. You know, it's what it is.
But it was at this low point in his life that he met a record producer named Herb Jordan.
I happened to be in New York when Andy was performing. And it took me about 2 minutes into the first song to appreciate what a wonderful voice he had, and that And I immediately wondered why the man hadn't been recording.
What do you think?
Herb Jordan got an independent recording contract for Andy Bey, and the first album they made together, Ballads, Blues, and Bey, hit the top of the charts.
Mama to the night.
And one of the great things about working with Andy is that he's so open. He is so receptive to musical ideas. And that's unusual, especially for someone who is as developed musically as Andy. I brought him this brilliant song by Nick Drake called Riverman. It seemed perfect because the spirit of the song was so much like the spirit that I see in Andy.
Gonna see the riverman. Gonna tell him all I can about the plan.
Andy Bey's second album, Shades of Bey, is an even bigger success, and non-traditional songs like Riverman help explain why.
All he knows about the way his river flows.
All my tunes are related basically to what I'm about personally.
Right, that's great.
I always experiment with writing triplets and things.
He's constantly exploring different possibilities
Playing with
for
the
his
rhythm
music.
section. If I'm playing a tune like Brother Can You Spare a Dime,
That's conventional, okay.
There's a certain poetry in what's been happening with Andy's career. After not recording for 22 years, Andy's had a record that went #1. All of the record companies are interested in Andy because he sells records, and so there's a certain element of redemption to be off of the scene for 22 years and to come back and have just be the subject of such adulation, such acclaim. It's a rare thing and a very beautiful thing.
And when Andy Bey comes back to perform in Harlem, it is indeed a beautiful thing.
Memories haunt me, shadows fall, midnight blue.